Good evening, everyone. We are going to welcome all of you to this webinar on Women at Octave, and thank you for joining with us in this evening. So, this event is, as you know, organized by Octave, the John Keells Group Data and Advanced Analytics Center of Excellence, and the cornerstone of the group's data-driven decision making. So, I'm Nadeesha Ekanayake, and I will be the host for this event. We are very excited to have you today. So let me introduce myself also a little bit. I'm a senior data scientist working in several use cases in beverage and retail domain. I started my career as a telecommunication engineer. Then I got the opportunity of working in business intelligence analytics, and this laid the foundation for a career in data science for me. So currently my role involves taking responsibility and lead for designing, executing and delivering successful data science projects of different scopes, enabling especially AI-led working culture on client side. So to mark the International Women's Day 2022, we have organized this webinar, and the whole intention of this webinar is to open up some kind of a conversation on the contribution of women, especially those who are in the STEM field. That is, as you know, technology, engineering, mathematics fields, and the specific challenges faced by women in this field. Okay, so today we have a group of amazing professionals here with me, and they will be sharing their personal experiences, how they cope up with kind of specific challenges at the workplace, and their learnings with us. So I will invite all of you in the audience to join with us for this conversation. So if you have any questions or you want to share kind of similar experiences, please feel free to add them in the chat box, and we'll love to hear your thoughts. And also I will keep kind of 15 minutes towards the latter part of this session to answer your specific questions and share your own stories. So for this webinar, the plan is to have 3 key segments. The first segment is the keynote address. The second segment is the panel discussion. And the last one will be the Q&A session. Okay, so first on the agenda is the keynote address by Nelindra Fernando. So Nelindra is an Executive Vice President of the John Keells Group and the Chief Financial Officer of the Consumer Food Sector. She has been with the John Keells Group since 2013 in financial functions and possesses a wealth of knowledge in the consumer food sector. She is a member of the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants of UK and the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka. So previously, she was a MS Group as the head of management accounting and Ernst & Young as an audit trainee. So over to you, Nalindra.
Thank you, Nadeesha. So let me say a very good evening to all of you all who has joined this webinar, and a big thank you to Octave team for inviting me for this webinar. So let's directly go into my presentation. Okay. Can we go to the first slide, please? So first I will talk about now what we are here today is to talk about data science, big data, and how this big data, this buzzword is being used at conglomerates, businesses to do their business better and to get benefits from big data or data science. So before we go into how we at consumer food sector, which is the sector that I'm working for, has used this big data and data analytics in our sector to bring some benefits to us. First, I'll talk about bit about big data and data science with you all. So can we move on? Yes. So when we talk about big data, we always talk about 6 V's, that there are 6 V's in a big data environment, which is basically volume, variety, velocity, veracity, value, and variability. So volume is what we talk about is how big or the size of the data that we are using for our data analytics. Variety is how complex this data is, or how structured or unstructured this data is. Then when we talk about velocity, how fast or how slow we get this data. It's like the rate in which the data is being received. And we talk about veracity, that is where the quality of the data, because what the data that we use for our decision making, we have to trust the source, and also it has to be data that has quality. It shouldn't be garbage in, because if you take data without quality, the decisions we make can be severely impacted. The value of data is the value that we place on certain set of data, that the value can transition into a business through profit growth or volume growth. So the value of this data and the value that brings to us through bottom line growth. And variability is how often this data changes, the behavioral of a data set. So these are the 6 V's that we looked at when we are looking at big data in the data analytic world. Can we move on? Yeah, so as I spoke about before, quickly, the structured, unstructured data is the issue that we have today. The data is available in the environment, but most of the data is not structured. If the data is structured, it is very easy to obtain them and analyze them. So for examples for structured data is like a phone number, address, a customer rating. Those are very structured data, which is very easy to analyze. And the majority of big data out there in the market is actually unstructured. When you get unstructured data, there needs to be a lot of input going in to make sure that is cleaned and we take the required message out of those data. And there is a mixture of the both, which we have as semi-structured data. Now, if you look at an email message, that can be a semi-structured data where you would have numerics as well as you have text or a message in it. So then you need to go into the message and take the semi-structured data, analyze it, and take the message that you want. So this is the 3 forms of data that we are working in an environment that we work today. Move on. Yeah, so now I'm going to talk about some of the cases that internationally we talk about where businesses has transformed into being leaders in the respective businesses by using data or working in a data analytic world. The first example that I would like to talk about is Amazon. We all know Amazon is the #1 e-commerce shopping website or shop that we all work. So how did Amazon become the #1 e-commerce? Is purely by using data in the proper way. Now, one thing that Amazon has is they have a very dynamic pricing mechanism of all the products they offer in the websites. And how they get into that dynamic pricing is they have an AI running behind their platforms, monitoring people's shopping patterns, monitoring their competitor websites, monitoring the products they offer, whether they are the supply against demand, and they keep on changing the pricing that they offer in their products. Actually, according to Amazon, 2.5 million times they change their pricing of their products per day. 2.5 million times they change the pricing per day. So that is how dynamic their pricing is, and all their decisions are based on data analytics that they get from their customers, shopping patterns, competitors, and so on. The other thing that they do is they monitor their customers' shopping patterns, and they always recommend or they suggest the customers what to buy. Though you don't put it into your cart, they know what kind of products you like to look at, and they would prompt that to you so that though you don't want to buy it, end of the day, you end up buying it. And it is said in Amazon, 35% of their sales are done through prompting something that might interest you, end of the day, where the consumer actually end up buying that product. So that's so significant for them by looking at data and understanding customers and making customers to buy their data. So let's move into the next case study that I want to talk about. It is Netflix. Now, most of you all know Netflix is the biggest online platform for movies and TV shows in the world. And how did they get there is that they have used data analytics to a very extensive ways to ensure today they have 93% of retention rate. That means if a person subscribes to Netflix, they retain with the Netflix 93% of the time. So the customers are very happy with the platform. And how did they get there? They have gone and personalized the account of each user, understanding the user, where they have an AI platform running behind the user account. So they would know what is the time a specific user would log into Netflix. Now, for example, I might look at Netflix maybe during the weekends or on a weekday after 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. And they know that's the time I go to Netflix, and they would know in the history what are the movies I would have looked at, and they would prompt to me. If I like to see comedies, they would prompt to me. If I like to see action movies, they would prompt to me. And so that is how they have personalized the individual accounts where the customers are staying with them, retain, because the customers get what they like to see. So that's how Netflix has become the leader in the industry they are in. Shall we move to the next one? Yes, and Uber Eats. This is very common to all of us. We all know Uber Eats used to be a taxi company. Then how did they become a food delivery company? What did they do? By being a taxi company, they collected lots of data about consumers, customers. They had enough data. They used that to become a food delivery company. And the unique selling point they offered to the consumer was, we would deliver your food while it is still warm. That means they told the consumers, when we say you will get your food within 30 minutes, we would deliver it to you 30 minutes, and it would be a warm meal that you can enjoy with your family. So it is not easy as it is said in the environment to deliver food within the anticipated time. So Uber Eats has a huge network running behind the AI as well as other data to ensure that they estimate that delivery time by understanding the traffic, understanding your geolocation, understanding how long that specific restaurant will take to make the data. They have to manage all that seamlessly by doing data analytics to ensure the consumer is not disappointed and the food is delivered on time with, for the time that they have agreed with the consumer. So there again, Uber Eats has been able to deliver to their customer promises because they are doing data analytics in a very advanced manner. Moving on, my final case study that I would like to present to you all is Coca-Cola, because why I want to talk about Coca-Cola is I am in the business of beverages, and Coca-Cola is being one of our main competitors in Sri Lanka. So I would like to showcase to you what Coca-Cola globally has done with data analytics. So one thing is that Coca-Cola has done is they have used data analytics for product development. When they come up with a new product, they need to understand what the consumers need, and they would go and launch that product. And there is a very famous case that how they describe how this cherry flavored Sprite, which is a very popular product in most of the European countries, came about. This came about where they wanted to do a research or a testing, what would the consumers, what kind of a new flavors a consumer would like. So what did they do? They placed vending machines across most of the European and American countries. They placed these vending machines, and those were interconnected, and they had an AI platform running behind the vending machines. So what did they want the consumers to do was go to the vending machine and try to mix your own drink, because the vending machine would have different flavors and the consumer can mix and match and make their own flavor. So then the data vending machines would collect the data and see what are the main flavors the consumers would mix and match, and as well as what is the repetitive flavors that people came about. And something they realized was people would like to mix cherry flavor with Sprite, and that product they launched later on. That is one of their highest selling products in the market today. Similarly, there is similarly mango flavor Diet Coke was also launched during this vending machine test where they did to collect this data. So those two products are primarily born because of their data analytics and AI platform. And also at Coca-Cola, they spent so big amounts on advertising and promotion, and it is said that they would be spending about $570 million on their digital advertising in 2023. So that is big money, but when they did the research, they were told 1/4 of the money that they spent, 26%, is actually wasted, that they are spending it on channels that consumers don't look, or they are giving the messages that is not resonating to the consumer. So what they did was they started to get consumer feedback through Facebook, through Instagram, and they try to understand the consumers better to give them the right message in the right platforms at the right time, to ensure the money they invest in advertising and promotion has a good return on their investments. So those are a few case studies that I have come across the international markets that has really won. Those businesses has really won due to having very high level of data analytics in their businesses. So let's move on to consumer foods, what we are doing currently in our own sector. Yeah, so consumer foods at John Keells is, just to give an introduction, we are the Elephant. We work with the Elephant House brand, the soft drinks, the ice creams, the Keells food products, the Keells sausages, meat products. That all comes under the consumer food sector, and we work with wide variety of consumers, and our main market being serving the domestic market. So let's move on, and I would like to explain to you what data analytics or Octave has done to our sector. So currently in consumer food sector, we have about 9 use cases that we are working with the Octave team, and the entire landscape of how we make decisions in our sector has changed by bringing in data analytics. Today, when we make a decision, we would always look at what is the data saying to us. We would look at the message that we are getting on data, the trends, the predictions, and when we make decisions, it is mostly based on data. So to explain to you one practical way, I would take one example, which we have a use case called discount effectiveness. As you all know, we being a consumer brand, we spend on discounts, giving discounts to our distributors, giving discounts to our retailers to sell our products. So in the beverage category, currently we are selling our beverages across 80,000 outlets in this country. So 80,000 outlets, we pay them discounts to sell our products. But in the past, when we used to spend on discounts, we spend quite a heavy amount on discounts. It was mostly done by the salesperson in the ground, in the market. It's a gut decision. They would go to outlet and they would say, okay, this outlet I might give 1:10. I mean, if you buy 10 bottles, I will give 1. But whether we give it on our cream soda or EGB or our 200 ml pack size or 1 liter is a decision that the DSR, the selling person, would make based on his experience or based on his gut. But then whether that discount has been actually been impactful, bringing us additional sale, has been not very conclusive for us in the past. And every year we have to increase our discount amount to get an additional sale in the market. But once this data analytics came into us, what we have done is we have looked at our past history about what discounts we have offered to which outlet, what are the different pack sizes, flavors those has been given to, and what is the sales trend those have brought to us. And today we give discounts to the market by looking at those data analytics. And our final objective being that we are fighting with two international giants for beverage market, which is Coke and Pepsi, and they have a huge budget they can spend on discounts. So they are spending big amounts on discounts to get market share, and we are fighting with them par to par. And then what we are doing is we spend each cent that we spend on discounts with proper decisions that we can take by those being backed by proper data. So moving on, what we are trying to achieve out of this discount effectiveness case is that if we have spent 100 rupees in the last year as discounts, what our objective is, if we got spending 100 rupees as discount and we have got 100 liters, now we want to get from that same 100 rupees, we would like to get 120 liters. Or if we have spent 100 rupees last year and got 100 liters, this year we would like to spend 80 rupees and get the same 100 liters. So that is what our final objective of this discount effectiveness, that we spend our discounts most effectively where it will bring us the highest sale. So this is the one example that how we are using this, and all our sales staff, we have about 300 plus sales staff out there in the market. They also has aligned to this. They understand that they look at this data analytics, and they would go to the, when they go to an outlet, they know looking at this, what to offer and how much to offer. So it has transformed our business today to bring a lot of benefits to us by doing this data analytics. Finally, before I close my speech, I would like to bring some context to this women in data science or women in leadership, because end of the day, for females to be in any leadership, be it data science or any other leadership role, it's a task that they have to take it on to themselves. And for me, just to leave one message with all the females who are joined today, how I would say is the most important thing for you all to reach to higher levels in organization, be a leader, is not to have any biases within yourself, right? We talk about breaking biases. It's not, our organization or the male counterparts or the society out there who needs to break the biases. First of all, we ourselves needs to break the biases to tell ourselves being a woman, it's not a limitation. There is no limitations the levels that we can reach to. So every time that you all come through a challenge or a decision point, don't take a step back thinking, I'm a lady, I can't do this. There is no limitation. So break your own biases, and then your career path, you reaching higher levels in your leadership, in your organizations would be very easy. So with that message, I will leave that message to you all, and I would conclude my discussion. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Nalindra. That's a very insightful speech which elaborates on how the data can be used to leverage business value by your own experiences as well. And I think you made really important point on how to make the dots connected and how it should make relevant for the business. So thank you so much again for your time and insightful experience that you shared with us today. And I'm sure our audience today will also enjoy the Nalindra's address. Again, just a reminder for the audience to send us any questions that you have in your mind through the chat box, so that we can, take those towards the end of this session. So we are now moving on to the next segment. We have a couple of panelists here today to talk about their careers. And these STEM careers are now important than never before. So really looking forward to hear from the panel today, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves and their journey so far. So starting off with Hiruni Kandaudaarachchi, one of our analytics delivery manager. Hiruni, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. So I come from a family of 4 with one younger brother. From small days onwards, I've been a fan of sports, and my favorite has and always will be swimming. I contributed at national level during my school years, and after leaving school, I followed engineering as my bachelor, and I'm currently reading a master's in business statistics. So after many changes in my career, now I work as an analytics delivery manager at Octave in the retail sector.
Yeah, and next we have Dinusha Dissanayake, a data scientist currently working in beverage domain.
Good evening all. To tell you all about myself, I graduated from University of Peradeniya, specializing in statistics, and I have worked previously in John Keells Research as a research scientist, and then moved to Keells retail sector as a business analyst. Then I got the opportunity to start growing this field.
Yeah, thank you, Dinusha. So next in line is Surangi Gamage, representing the project management office at Octave.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Okay, I'm a loving mother to a very sweet girl, a supportive wife, and a caring daughter, and a very humble human being. Right? If I talk about my professional life, I was fortunate to work at several leading companies in Sri Lanka. So after I graduated in the 2007 from Sri Lanka Institute of Information Technology, I started my career as a QA engineer. And I joined with Pearson. Back in the day, it was called as eCollege. And after about 8 years, I did my PMP and then did a track change to project management. So after a couple of years, I joined Virtusa, and then I joined Seattle Digital Labs. And today, I'm heading the PMO operations at Octave. My main responsibility is to make Octave a CMMI certified organization by streamlining and improving our processes, as well as enforcing agile best practices within the organization to provide everyone a better work-life balance while achieving the revenue targets.
Thanks, Surangi. It's interesting to hear the motivation behind your role and what you are aiming to achieve for the company you work for. Yeah. So unfortunately, Akshila and Rangi could not join us this evening due to some unforeseen circumstances. But then we have Asanga joining with us today as a senior data scientist who worked with us from the inception of Octave. So Asanga, would you be able to tell us about your role?
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone, good evening to all of you all. Pleasure to be here in this webinar. Yeah, so a bit about me. I joined John Keells through the STEM program where they were hiring individuals from the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields. I joined through that program, and then I was put to work in the Keells supermarkets or the retail sector. So I was there for about 1 year, and then John Keells was embarking on this advanced analytics journey across sectors, so multiple sectors. And then I got selected to join Octave. And it's been about 3 years working at Octave, and I'm like, it's been an amazing journey. There's been like use cases across different sectors, and it's been a great learning experience, a great exposure. And I've been mostly involved in the retail sector use cases. Yes, that's a bit about it.
Brilliant, Asanga. Yes. As data scientists, we spend much of our time, developing and implementing comprehensive tools and strategies that allow raw data to be transformed into business insights. So as you guys can see, we have a really great panel to bring to you today, and we hope to have really good conversation to get to know how these fabulous people came to the place where they are right now. Okay. So moving on to the next question. Sometimes people think it's little bit intimidating and think I will never be able to work in that company, in this field. It's sort of out of reach for me and all those things. But I'm here to tell you, along these great people in this panel, that it's not true. And these STEM jobs are within your reach. So, Hiruni, how did you enter to your stream, and what are the challenges you had, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, so Nadeesha, when after I completed my degree in engineering, I actually had a shift in my career, and I was working in the retail sector at Keells. So when I was there, I got a perspective on how data analytics helps in problem solving for a business. So it was actually a dream come true when an opportunity was presented to me to join Octave. But at that point, I had very little experience in technology. And when I joined Octave, I had very little experience in the STEM field. So it was a big thing for me to improve myself and also gain a lot of competencies. And I think I'm still learning. There's still a lot more to learn for me. But Octave being here has presented a lot of opportunities for me to develop in this field as well. We have a lot of workshops and give us a lot of seminars and workshops for us to improve our knowledge. And it has been really helpful for me.
Yeah, so as Hiruni mentioned, I also agree in terms of this fast-paced growing field. All of us need to constantly update our knowledge and upskill to keep us moving with that idea. So Dinusha, maybe you also can take this up.
Yeah, so at the university, I studied actually statistics. So with that subject combination, it was a natural selection to enter into the data analytics field. But to be truthful, at the university, you get only theoretical knowledge. So it was a bit of challenge when I entered to the field, and I didn't have much knowledge in even machine learning or what computer science and all. So I self-learned a lot and also did parallel studies. And on the job also, I learned a lot and started applying all this theoretical knowledge into real life use cases. So yeah, that's how I actually entered to the stream.
Yes, yes. So as Dinusha mentioned, I think this analytics and data science is sort of interdisciplinary area in which, statistics, mathematics, software programming, machine learning all get combined into one. And, it's really interesting because you get to work across a different domain, unlike any other profession. So if I talk about my own experiences, I worked many years in telecommunication domain and then in beverage domain, and now moving on to retail as well. So you never get bored, and there are enough and more things to learn every day. So yeah, so all right. So let's get into kind of a more women specific question on the challenges that they face. Okay, so we have a lot of stereotypes in our society that are built around women. So there are a lot of challenges around this. And so we kind of keep on hearing, that women can't code and don't have to think on too much on the finance of the house. And then, women would take up some creative jobs. Why getting into coding, getting into some HR or to some non-technical field? So these are similar things that we hear on sometimes from our societies. there are some biases that always thrown to us women. So I think we people are sort of breaking that biasness by taking up a lot of courses in STEM and working in this field itself. So I feel that we have come up a lot in that path, but there's a long journey ahead as well. So having said that, what might have caused for women to underrepresent in STEM field jobs? Surangi, will you be able to add your thoughts?
Yeah, so it's a very interesting question. So I think it's the same reason why fewer men are into nursing, right? I don't believe it has anything to do with upbringing, but the personality trait. Because men are in general interested in things, while women are interested in people, right? This is why women tend to go for soft sciences like medicine, biology, or psychology, because we would love to have the direct connection between what we do and how it relates to people and society. On the other hand, women are discouraged by the society to become scientists or engineers. Even in the history, right, it was a men's role to explore. In particular, women are encouraged to become housewives and mothers and take care of kids and household stuff, right? So having this mentality, some women think if they start their career in STEM field, it will ruin their work-life balance one day. So what are these initiatives we think that will ruin our work-life balance? Could be the compressed work hours, the stress, telecommunicating, leave options, and then most importantly, the continuous learning, because it's technology, right? The technology evolves with the time. So we must learn new things often to stay in the field. For example, back in the day when we were doing the degree programs, the scope was very limited. Like it was more into computer science, networking, and information technology. And then we had this era of cloud computing, DevOps, likewise. But now the world is into data fields like data modeling, machine learning, data analytics, and big data, right? So even for me, like it was a huge challenge to understand what you guys are doing at Octave to make sure that I need to streamline the process to know that I need to know first what we are doing at Octave. So yeah, to summarize, I think we should know that every job has its own challenges. And we should break the stereotype that STEM field are only for men and not for women. This would help to reduce the discrimination that women face when entering these fields. Yeah.
Thank you, Surangi. Thank you. So, Dinusha, what are your viewpoints on this?
Hi. So I think Surangi covered it nicely. So as she mentioned, actually there is society biasness toward this STEM male dominant, and so because of this, young girls are discouraged to pursue in this field. Actually, I did my A-levels on maths, and I could see that even from that time, there's limited proportion of girls pursue maths. And I remember when I joined to Octave also, there's a very small proportion of girls due to unavailability of these potential candidates also. But I think it's changing slowly. There's a lot of empowering of women over the past few years, and this biasness is slowly reducing. But there's actually still more to be done in certain fields such as engineering, but it is reducing.
Yeah. So I will also add on to this point. What I have to say is like, don't be afraid to explore these different career opportunities, and there are especially high-paying jobs. Not the money is everything, and you have to have the passion. But when you talk in the reality, post-college or after graduating, those things matter. So definitely you guys are in the right place, and it's exciting to see a lot of young women exploring this field today. So maybe in the tech field, we women kind of started late compared to men. But of course, after getting to know our strengths and skills, now we are catching up, and that's totally fine. Yeah. So with that, I want to jump into a little bit of a different question. So talking about the unique perspectives that women alone can provide in data science and analytics field, and what are the special contributions that they can bring onto the table. So Hiruni, how do you see this?
It is well known that women are more empathetic and has a unique perspective of the world. So I think greater diversity in organization also gives a range of opinions and also experience. And diversity also plays a key role, especially in fields like data science, where innovation is key in these fields. And there's continuous learning and growing in these fields. So I think it is important representation increases in these fields and giving each and everyone a voice, not just at the entry points, but also providing equal opportunities at leadership positions where women can influence future decision making in the companies so that it is not biased will be very useful and will help to bring about a culture which is inclusive.
Okay, brilliant idea, Hiruni. So in my own perspective, I believe like what we model in data science field is mainly certain behaviors of human decision making, which is something to do with human cognition. And if we take the simple models as in recommendation engines, churn propensity scoring, upsell and cross-sell predictions, and more lead generation. So ultimately all related to different human behaviors. Therefore, in this case, different perspectives of people, that is men and women, are needed to get the accurate balance in AI products. Okay, it's enough of us women talking about women. Let's try to hear the perspective of a male colleague on what he has to say about us. Asanga, what do you have to add on to this?
Yeah, very interesting question. I think, yeah, like so far on the projects that I've worked at Octave, it's mostly been retail projects. And it's mostly the Keells supermarket projects. So if you take a typical household in Sri Lanka, it's mainly the woman or the female who does the shopping. Even if we go to the supermarket, it's mostly because our mothers or like our wife would give the list and we would just go to the supermarket and buy the products based on that. But women actually have a good understanding of their decision-making process, which goes into when buying certain products. Like for an example, they would be aware of the price changes. They would be aware of different, even if you buy milk or biscuits or anything, they would be aware of like different product brands, a lot of things. So even from our models or like our descriptive to predictive, any model output, these are the sort of insights which it throws out. So for us to sort of interpret these things, it's important that we get a women's perspective because they know what these insights mean. For us, it will just be like an insight. Okay, we see that product X is doing well, but why it's doing well is something in specifically in retail projects where women's perspective is important there. So that is just one example out of all like the projects that I've worked on. And then I think recently I was sort of reading some articles about this topic, and then I came across something called algorithm bias. So that's where, in the case of HR, if you there could be situations where like most of the applications, like now we spoke about this before, where it's sort of male dominant, or the CVs that we get, majority of it would be from like guys. So the algorithm unintentionally would be biased towards selecting a male CV. So in that case, I think it's important that there is equal representation, and then this women's perspective of highlighting those things is important. So I think that is why it's good that there's an equal balance of women and men.
Thanks, Asanga. Thanks for your viewpoints. So the challenge of balancing work-life is a much talked topic. Let's get our panelists to talk about how women manage on this. Surangi, as a working woman, while being a mom to a small kid, how do you see yourself balancing work and family? Can we talk about on that?
Yeah. Honestly, balancing work and family role has become a key personal and family issues for many of us, right? If you are a working mother, there are many aspects that matters to stress, because we are culturally grown to be housewives, even when we were always encouraged to study and get a good job. So in South Asian culture, especially if you are married, right, then you will be judged by many people in many different angles. Your in-laws will have many expectations from you. So in addition to the job stress on a daily basis, we have to manage these expectations as well. Like Asanga mentioned, most of us supposed to look after the kids, do shopping, cooking, doing laundry, cleaning, and whatnot, right? So especially when it comes to caregiving, women are expected to sacrifice their careers in order to become caregivers. But unfortunately, most of the time, the same doesn't apply for males. I mean, all these chores are considered to be women's docket. And even if the husband has a lighter workload, he is very unlikely to offer help in that area most of the time. So now this is the problem, right? So when there is a lack of proper family support, it's really hard. At times, the relations don't support women to leave the household work to go to the office. There are also a pause for women working till late night in the office, which also obstruct the performance of women. And this is also affects their career growth. One thing you can do is, right, in my opinion, you can plan long term, like have clear set of goals and, you know, career directions and all that. But if you are married, having a supportive partner or a family is equally important. I mean, in other countries, this statement might not be that relevant because say you are a single mother, right? Then you can always keep your kid at a daycare center, so you know the security and everything is there. But countries like Sri Lanka, I don't think we have that facility still in the country. Hence, like without the support, like partner or family support, I mean, the chances of achieving success in women's life are diminished. Yeah.
Yeah, Surangi, it's great to hear your opinion on that. Yeah. So Hiruni, would you be able to take up on this as well?
So I think balancing work and family commitments can be challenging, but it also might vary from individual to individual. Like, for example, like a person who's not married might be more flexible in working long hours compared to a person who's married or have kids. But I think the support from the spouses, the parents, families, and even the organization is very important in getting help in balancing this. So I think something that organizations can do, they can introduce flexible working hours. I think this was in technology companies, this was well proven during the pandemic, and it is something that has done and has been very productive. So I think this is something that can be introduced. But something that we all have to remember is it is always a choice, prioritizing work over family when necessary. Maybe you could have an important meeting that you might have to prepare, and you might have to sometimes prioritize work, or prioritizing family over work. Maybe someone is sick at home and you might have to prioritize family commitments. So it's always a choice that we have to make, right? And once you make it, I think it's important that we don't regret it, and we go by it. So I think challenge is always there, but support from everyone else will help to ease this.
Thanks, Hiruni. Thanks. Dinusha, how do you see this struggle, especially in a pandemic era?
I think Surangi and Hiruni covered the support needed from family and also from the company. So I'll try to answer from a different angle. So I think work can become sometimes overwhelming, especially when you are growing in your career and more responsibilities are added to you. So one thing I try to follow is just like we start working at time, I try to have a time to stop work. So it gets easier when we practice it, and it all boils down to, I guess, the self-discipline you practice. And when you're with family, you give full focus to your family, 100%. And when you're working, I try to give my 100% attention to that.
Yeah, thanks, Dinusha. I think the women's limitation due to her priorities in life and her family-related obligations, etc., should not impede her professional growth. And we need to give a fair chance to thrive everyone in their careers, regardless of them being men or women. Especially when it comes to the drop rates after reaching to certain levels in their careers. We can limit it happening if women get to hear how the other women overcame similar challenges and how they cope up with that. So that is exactly what we are doing right now in terms of this webinar as well. Networking is something that really helps. So we see that men are often very good at networking when it comes to talking with people. But sometimes women are very hesitant to reaching out for someone, especially in this field when they face this kind of circumstances in balancing their work and family. Yeah, so having said that, I would like to take a couple of minutes to remind the audience that if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat box so that we can take it in the upcoming Q&A segment. You can even put your questions directing to any of our panelists here, right? Okay, so to improve female leadership pipeline and to retain women in non-traditional roles, we see many companies taking efforts in terms of committing to ensure an inclusive and equitable workplaces today and to act against discrimination and gender stereotyping. And it is encouraging to see all these progresses coming in the field. So I would like to summarize a quote from the message by Chairman Krishan Balendra of International Women's Day 2022. On International Women's Day last year, Chairman announced the group's 5-year goal to reach 40% women by 2025. And through one JKH initiative, launched a series of long-term interventions towards reaching this goal. These interventions, while reinforcing the group's position on meritocracy and focus on equity, will ensure that women at John Keells not only have equal opportunity, but by using past data and proven research, are provided support to reach their full potential. So that's a quote that I took from one of our chairman's speech. So, Hiruni, do you really believe that this glass ceiling effect does exist? And if so, how do you think it should be overcome?
Yes, so does the glass ceiling effect exist? Yes, but how it affects each and every one of us will be completely different. And some of the fortunate might not experience it at all, or maybe to a very limited amount, but some might have it experience at a very large amount. But if you look at organizations now, like a lot of the organizations are encouraging women to join the workforce, and I think we are seeing this at entry level, the percentage of women entering have significantly increased. So it's a good sign. But I think the problem goes when you go to the management levels or the higher positions. We see that the women are either dropping out or like they do not continue to stay in these fields to go up the ladder. So I think there is something that we have to recognize and look at how we can solve it. So in an organization where we embed a culture where you are recognized for your skill set rather than your gender is, I think, one important key point that might help us to break this unconscious bias that exists within all of us. I mean, not just the men, but even women. Sometimes we feel that, you know, like if they are recognized for gender or whatever, like even if we do so much, like we might not really progress in our career and like most likely drop out. But to break that, I think the organization culture could be very important. Also, in career advances, women should also be given equal opportunities, and also company policies will play a key role. But also another thing I see is support from male colleagues will also play a really good role, because a lot of the, like now if we look at it, I know it's changing, but a lot of the leadership positions are still filled by men, right? And getting their support is very key for us to advance in our careers. Like everyone should be welcome in diversities, and this I believe will help in overcoming this class feeling.
Yes, I fully endorse your wonderful ideas, Hiruni. And I believe those are some of the timely advices as well. So Surangi, what do you think the effect of this on career advancements?
So I would say there's a bit of cultural aspect as well into this, right? Imagine you're a male and there's this scheduled interview with a female who has few kids at home. So if you're a traditional person who thinks that it's their mother's responsibility to bring them up and to manage all the house chaos, even if she gets a good support from her family, you may end up judging her, thinking she might not be able to give her 100%. So this would be a definite disadvantage for her to climb up the ladder or to go for new opportunities. Likewise, if you're a woman, there's a huge chance where you've been judged by many things, right? The way you dress, your attitude, your marital status, or your interests. So you could be a divorcee or a single parent or married or unmarried, right? You should be able to wear whatever you want, like short and long. It's your preference as long as there's no restriction. So what matters most is that you have the right qualifications and the capability. So any of these other things should not be questioned by anybody, in my opinion. So there was this instance, someone I know was judged by the top management dominated by men due to one of these personal reasons, and then they questioned her trustworthiness to the company. So that was a very awkward moment, and then she had to leave the company. And then there's this organizational factors. Because some men think women are pathetic in decision making, right? We are not good managers. We are not good leaders. But again, we should not forget, right? Men are from Mars and women are from Venus. So it's two different gender types, and we both think so differently. So what matters is we should take those changes, and like we should respect each other, right? Probably like women tend to have more cooperative, participatory style of leading, where men tend to have more commanding and controlling style. I mean, I personally prefer to have both in an organization, so it will be more balanced. Yeah.
Yeah, Surangi. So I think a legit point that you made is like in order to see women in C roles. There should be enough women in the pipeline as well. Yeah. So I presume our audience must be curious to know how the Octave management has committed to achieve true equality for women, and what sort of responsibility they have taken towards achieving gender parity. So Asanga, shall we talk a little bit on how women representation changed over time at Octave?
Yeah. So when I joined Octave, Nadeesha, it was so at the initial stages, it was an 8-member team, and there was only a couple of women who were there in our team. And now I think the participation has increased up to around, we have like a 40-member team, 40-odd member team now. And there's about, 30 to 40% of it is women. So that's a great thing which I'm seeing right now. And another great thing is that in Octave itself, there are different roles, not just data scientists, but we have data engineers, we have platform engineers. So in each of these roles, I see that the women participation has increased. So that's another great thing which I see. And I hope this continues to grow in the future.
Yeah, nice to hear that. So sometimes it's a little bit comfortable, and you feel welcomed when you look at the room and everybody looks like you. Especially if you are belonging to the minority, you feel less confident sometimes. And not that we should feel like that, but sometimes it can be the reality. And same applies to the other way around as well. If there are few men in a women's conference, I'm sure they are feeling the same way. So it's important to create the safe place that people can speak up. Okay, cool. So we are in the last question of our panel discussion for today. So hoping a better future to come, what you can bring to empower and encourage women in the career in the tech field. I like to start with Surangi and then go to Hiruni.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So let me give you a very generic answer to this question first, Nadeesha. You should focus on your skills and the type of things you enjoy doing. Okay. It is just never too late to learn a new skill or polish an old one you have. And it's never too late to start a business if you have the ambition and a marketable skill. So there are no jobs in the society which labeled for men or women. It's just the right talent you need to have. I would like to emphasize this, right? So recently I've met this female Uber driver. And I was really impressed to see her. And then I spoke to her and I asked her like, how is it going and why did you enter this field? And then she said, rather than staying at home doing nothing, ma'am, I'm really enjoying this job, right? So at least I can earn, I can contribute to the family. And then I again met her in few days back. Like she came to deliver me a parcel. So where I asked her, how is it going? And then she said, ma'am, I got selected to the top 5 Uber drivers. Like she was like over the moon, and I was so glad to hear that, right? So back to the question you asked, I think a tech field particular requires you to be a bit of a loner and socially unattractive, right? It seems to be like boys care less about being seen nerds than girls do, but we have had many nerdy girls in the past who changed the world, we should not forget. Like Marie Curie, the greatest scientist who won 2 Nobel Prizes and invented mobile X-ray units. And then Cecilia Agashkin. Her PhD thesis had been called the most brilliant PhD thesis ever written in astronomy. So the most important thing is, right, you should learn to trust yourself, believe in yourself, be in yourself and believe in yourself. So once you started believing, the miracles will happen. And I don't think no one will stop you at that point. Yeah, that's the message I would like to give.
Brilliant inspirational story, Surangi, brilliant. Hiruni, can we hear your viewpoints as well?
I think it's important that we be confident of who we are and our values. And always, we have to always choose a career path that we are passionate about, and not because you are pushed by the society or your family or because some of your friends are following a different path and you just go with the flow. So once you make that career path, it is important that you always thrive in the work you do. But another thing I would like to add here is, like, sometimes you can't always choose your career as well. Actually, to be honest, when I was in school, I actually wanted to be a doctor, but now here I am in a tech company. So it was a complete turnover. Like, I studied engineering, but now I'm in a tech company. So I think it's important that, we don't always stay in our comfort zone, but we always take up challenges, and that will help you to grow in your careers as well. And also always do the job you do really well. Like, no matter what you do, always thrive in it. And no matter how small a percentage you represent, never be afraid to speak your mind. So I think small differences over time will make up to a big change, and it is a responsibility in all of us, like the men and the women, to all play a role in this change and contribute positively. So if enough of us stand up, I'm sure over time, more young women will be inspired to join these kind of tech fields and play their role.
Yeah, so Dinusha, what is your message to the young enthusiastic girl out there who look forward to start her career in the tech field?
Yeah, so if you want to actually start enter into the tech field, I think first, like, if you made up your mind, you have come halfway. So, and if you start the journey, there are a lot of resources out there. Like, there's internet, there's Google, there are a lot of free courses you can sign up to. Like, there are a lot of resources you can learn. And what you have to do is you can grab all the opportunities and do research and stay committed to the path you chosen. I think it might get tougher, but how much, like, no matter how tough it gets, I think if you have the commitment, abilities and skills will slowly grow up, and you will eventually get a rewarding career.
Yeah. So Asanga, we like to hear from you as well.
Yeah, Nadeesha, I think, I mean, my advice would be not specifically for women. I think it's just generic when it comes, if anyone wants to enter this field, these are sort of the ABC things that they need to do. So first, I would say there are, like Dinusha said, there's so many platforms right now. So you could do a lot of courses. There's Coursera, EDX. You could follow data science courses there, data engineering courses are there. So this is in terms of courses. And then another key thing I would say is they do a lot of data competitions on Kaggle. Take part in them. So that is like how you can build your foundation in your building models and stuff. So Kaggle is one thing, and then it's important to have your own GitHub account, publish your projects there. So anyone in HR who's looking, or when you go to interviews, these are like the main things that people would look into. And then the third thing I would say is have your write articles. So the main way, that the best way you could learn is when you try to explain it to someone else. So when you write articles, I think this is the best way you will sort of put whatever you learned into practice and explaining things to people. So having your blog post, it could be Medium or anything. So I think there are these three things only I could give as anyone who's entering into this field as advice. Yeah.
Okay, so with that, we come to the end of the panel discussion. Yeah, so let's move on to our next segment. Now I can see we have received some very interesting questions from our audience. So thank you very much for that, and keep on sending your questions. We'll try to answer those. I like to pick a couple of questions from the chat box. So I can see one of those common questions that is being raised is, can you explain about the internship opportunities heading up in Octave? Maybe Surangi, can you give some on that? Yeah.
Yes. So when it comes to internship at Octave, we have different departments. We have the data scientist department, the data engineering, platform engineering, the analytics, the delivery department, which is the analytics delivery associates and the managers, and as well as the PMO side, right, to the process side of it. So we work with many universities around the world to promote our internship programs, to give the interns that challenge, like, that enthusiastic work, like what we do at Octave. So if you're a third year or a fourth year student who is interested in any of these roles, which I have mentioned above, so you can contact us through your university counterpart. I'm pretty sure you all have your university counterpart who is handling these internship programs. And then how the program goes is it's default 6 months program. So after this 6 months, if you wish to contribute to your career with us, like there will be a performance cycle. So if you are good, and if you are good to, if you would like to continue your career path with us, so there is a chance for you to join as an Octave full-time employee. Yes, that's opportunity is there. So currently, actually, we do have interns from overseas, like from Dubai and all other countries as well. It's not limited to Sri Lanka. Yeah.
Thanks, Surangi. Thanks. So I have a very interesting question asked. To make gender neutralism in country like SL, is the best way forward is by introducing legal measures or through by cultural change? I think Nelindra can give some good points on for this. Nelindra?
Yeah, so I would go with actually, it's not legal actually, it's a cultural change. Culture is what the society and the people think and do. So we should not try to make it a forceful change. Cultural change is how each of one of us embrace and how we bring up our own children to embrace that kind of a change. So we being mothers, how we bring up our sons versus daughters, starting from there, I think we can do this change. So it will be definitely a cultural change that we should do. And I don't think we need laws to be changed if people are through how we bring up our children, how we are taught in school, our educational system, how organizations treat us. I think it will automatically happen.
Yeah, thank you, Nelindra. Thank you. So I think, yeah, we have this question. I think we touched this question in our panel discussion as well. However, I invite my panelists to give some tips on how someone can come into this field. Specifically, someone asked, what are the skills I should focus in my university life to step into data field? So maybe Dinusha, yeah.
Yeah, I think Nadeesha at one time mentioned that this data science, this data field is not only computer science or statistics, it's a combination. It's like you have to know some mathematics, statistics, and also computer science. So I think if you are in the university, you should focus on getting a very good base of mathematics, and also like statistical concepts like probability, hypothesis testing, different tests, statistical tests, how to do this control and test groups, those things you should have a general knowledge, and also you should focus on one programming language, either Python or R, it doesn't matter. You should know how to code. So those are the skills, I guess, you have to build from your University of Life.
Yeah, thanks, Dinusha. So yes, we have a lot of questions coming up in the chat box. So I'd like to pick on this one. What do you think of working from home concept? Does it help you all for a better family life? Who should take? Maybe Hiruni? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think working from home has its benefits and also the cons, of course. Definitely there's travel time reduced and you're at home, so like you can start working at whatever the time you start, and then prior to that you can focus on your family and so on. So that balance is surely there. But I think when you work from home, there's always there's always a chance for you to not stop at the right time. I mean, you're comfortable, so you might keep on working till late night even, and you might not even stop. So I think having that self-discipline where you know when to stop, and stopping the work is also important to have this balanced family life.
Yeah.
And Nadeesha, add to that a small thing, right? When this we started this in 2020, I didn't have a time to have my lunch, my breakfast, or I couldn't eat my dinner as well. Like I was like, my calendar was fully packed. And then one of my friends gave me this advice: why don't you book your calendar, like from 12 to 1 or 1 to 2, book your calendar to yourself, saying it's your lunch time, right? So no one can book your time. You should have your lunch. Don't skip meals. So I mean, our health is more important. And family life is, for me as a woman, or as my mother, right? Family is always important. So I'm not telling not to do your work, but have your limits and that discipline. That would help. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a very broad question, and thanks for your opinions, Hiruni and Surangi. Okay, so looks like time's up for the Q&A segment. I think we have covered some relevant questions here. So that's it for today. And thank you so much for joining us with us. So hope you gained some insights from the discussion that we had today. And I'd like to say, please follow Octave on LinkedIn to get updates on future events. And another reminder that is Octave quiz night will happen next Friday. So if there are any undergraduates here, you can register next Monday via our LinkedIn page. And again, a recording of this session will be available on the Octave YouTube channel. So before we wind up for today, please fill the feedback form, and the link to the form is given in the chat box. That will help us to improve the experiences in future webinars. So everyone, thank you very much for joining with us today. So bye-bye, stay safe everyone, and good night.
Thank you.